Hey, welcome back to Woodworking with Wes. One of the first things you learn in the cabinet business is the first things that get remodeled in a house are the kitchen and the bath. Well, today we're going to help you with that bath remodel by doing a nice bathroom vanity. Now, it's a little bit of a complicated build. It's going to take us a couple weeks to do it. We've got started here, but let's show you how we get this done. Okay, the first thing we want to do is go to our whiteboard so we can get an idea of where to get started on our build. Here is the picture of our bath vanity right here. It's 60 inches wide. It's going to be 34.5 inches tall, and it's actually going to be made of 4 different cabinets with end panels on both sides. We're going to have a sink cabinet here in the middle. We're going to have a drawer cabinet on both sides. This cabinet down here on the bottom is just going to be an open shelf, but each section will be built separately. So 60 inches wide, 21 inches deep, 34.5 inches tall. Our open section is going to be 12 inches tall, 56 inches wide. Our end panels are going to be 2 inches, so that brings out our measurement to 60 inches because 56 and 4 is 60 inches. Now, I went ahead and I did an additional whiteboard of the sink and drawer sections so that you can get a little better idea of how I break down my individual pieces as I get ready to build them. Here is our sink section. It's going to be 26 inches wide, 18.5 inches tall. Even though our whole cabinet is 34.5 inches tall, there's a 4-inch toe space. There is the bottom open section that we talked about. And so the actual sink cabinet itself is only 18.5 inches tall. I've listed my sizes out here. The side panels will be 21 inches deep, 18.5 inches high. Our bottom 21 inches deep, 24.5 inches wide because of 26. And I've just listed my sizes all the way out, just like I do. Here is my drawer section, same thing. My sides are all going to be the same on the sink and the drawer section. Our drawer section is only 15 inches wide. Anyway, I've listed all my parts out. Now, we're going to go ahead, I'm going to show you all of these parts, all of these panel parts will be edge banded with just white edge banding edge tape so that we can paint them. We're going to be doing our paint in a stain stack, and I'm going to show you that when we get to that point. But I've already gone ahead and I've already cut my panel parts because you don't need to see me cut things over and over and over again, and we just cut it on our table saw. But let me show you some of our panel parts, and let's iron on some edge banding and show you how that's done. Putting on the white iron-on edge, I just wanted to show you a little bit. This is melamine material. This is what we're going to be using for our inside of our cabinet boxes. This is the melamine iron-on edge that we're using. It's actually, this is a paper product, but it's just a real thin product. It has got a heat-activated glue applied to the back of it, and you just take it and you literally, like they say, iron it on. And so we lay it up on top of our board like this so that it's a little wide, so I just hold my fingers on here to make sure that I have it centered. I have it made a little bit long, and I just take my hot iron and I just literally, just like it says, I just iron it on. And I make sure that we have plenty of good pressure. And I make sure that it gets really good and hot and activates that heat-activated glue and pushes it down into the edge of our particle board material that our melamine is laid onto. The melamine that we're using is what they call a fused melamine, so that it's a good smooth surface, and the particle board interior makes a really good interior surface for our melamine. Melamine comes in white, lots of different colors, and even some wood grains. Okay, we have that on there now and ironed in really good. Then I take my J roller and I just roll down really good along the edges, especially to make sure the edges are down tight. All right, and now our iron-on edge is ironed on and ready to clean. Now let's clean it. And I know some of you have commented on my antique iron that I bought at an antique shop. I like it because it's very heavy. gets very hot, and it's great for iron-on edge banding. So iron on, and iron on. We like it. Once our iron-on edge banding has cooled so that it's cool to the touch, it's time to clean it. And I just take it and this, like I say, this is a paper product that we're using for our iron-on edge. I break off the edges of it, and I just take a file. I file that edge clean, and then I go along the top here. And they make trimmer tools that trim the edges of edge banding, and those work really good. This also works, so if you don't have the trimmer tool, this works just as well. And I go along and I clean that off. And then I just take a piece of 150 sandpaper and I just lightly sand that edge that we just filed to clean it on both sides. Like that, so that there's no sharp edge. Then I tip it up, and because we are going to be painting this edge here, what I want to do is I want to take off a little bit of the factory surface. I want to just rough it up so that the paint will stick. And so I'm just sanding that paper product edge, and I'm just going to kind of a little bit around over the edge like that. And I now have cleaned that edge and I've roughed it up and it's smooth on both sides so nothing catches. And now I can paint that edge, and I'll paint that in a way that this stays white and the paint is only applied to our edge banding. We'll show you how we do that when we get ready for that. Okay, good morning. Yesterday, after we got all of our edge banding done and sanded, we're getting ready now to do what I called the stain stack. Now I've got part of it already done, and what we do is we stack our pieces with just the edges showing so that we can paint the edge, but the paint doesn't get on the interior, the white part of our cabinets that we want to have done. These are the sides of all three of our cabinets. So 2 drawer sections, 1 sink section. These are the bottoms and the stretchers to the drawer sections. And this is the floor to the sink. So we're going to go ahead and put that right here just like that. And I stack from small to large so that there's no overspray on the pieces. This kind of eliminates any of my overspray, makes it easier to clean up when I get done. Now, I have the 2 sides to the open section down below that are going to be sitting on top of this. So I'm going to be painting the whole side of that. So that's going to be a great thing to put on top. This, however, is a little wider than those 2 pieces side by side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some blue tape and just put down one side of my sink floor like that. It's only just a 1/2 inch difference, so it's not a big deal. I'm also going to put a piece across the back because this is a 1/2 inch bigger than those sides also. So now I've got that taped off. Let's bring those 2 sides out and put those on. Here are the 2 sides to our open section in the bottom. I've marked an X on the back side. Whenever you paint, and this is white melamine again, and white melamine makes a great paint surface, but you have to sand off the slick factory surface. I've spent a little bit of time doing that. I use 120 grit sandpaper to sand it off. It still leaves it very smooth and makes a great, almost a primer type surface to your melamine. And it works really well. I've done this many times in the past, and I really enjoy the finish that it does because it's just such a nice, smooth, slick, flat painted surface when you get all done. So I'm ready for those 2 now. So the way I'm going to paint this, I'm going to paint the face of all of these pieces and clear back on these 2 sides of our open section. I'm going to use my handheld airless sprayer. Okay, we're going to wait for that to dry, give it a soft sand and a second coat. What I'm painting is a pre-catalyzed tinted lacquer. It is Sherwood pre-catalyzed lacquer from Sherwin-Williams, and I had it tinted to the cucumber color off of their color rack. So it's going to be kind of a really pretty light green. So, like I say, go give this a chance to dry and give it a second coat. It has been about 20 minutes since we sprayed our initial coat, and it's been drying. Lacquer dries really good, really fast, especially in the right temperature. Part of the reason that we're spraying early in the morning is it is my experience that lacquer doesn't do well when it gets really warm, and you definitely don't want to have the surface of the material that you're painting to be real warm. That'll cause it to bubble. So we're out here early in the morning getting some cool, fresh air for our spraying. Okay, we'll give it a soft sand across the face. Okay, all right, second coat coming up. After we completed our stain stack, our painting on our stain stack, we brought them back into the shop and cleaned off any of the overspray or anything like that, so that we ended up with a nice painted edge and a nice smooth edge ready for assembly. Here's the floors to our drawer sections. Here's our sink. Here's all of our sides. So let's look back at our whiteboard. This is what we're going to be building. So our sink section will just be two sides, a floor, and a top rail. Now we made our top rails. This is the top rail to the drawer section, but it's 1.5 inches and it's nailed to a 4-inch piece. So that makes our top rail, and we're going to do a top rail just like that, and then we're going to have a divider between our drawers on our drawer sections. Let's go ahead and put our sink together first. Okay, here's all of our pieces for our sink. Here's our top rail. We'll set that right there for right now. This is our hanging cleat. It's a 4-inch piece and a 3-inch piece nailed together in a right angle in an L shape, and that creates the back upper corner of our sink section. And there'll be a corresponding piece exactly like that for the drawer sections. Here's our sides and our bottom floor. All right, now I'm going to turn this around here a little bit so that I can see what I'm doing and get it put together correctly. Let's move this out of the way. We're first going to nail it together. Let me turn it here. I'm going to turn it sideways so you can see a little better what we're doing. This is the floor. Here's the side. I'm going to nail it together like that. And the first thing we do is we use our 1.5 inch 18 gauge brad nailer, and I give it 3 nails, 2 up close to the top and 1 at the bottom. And these are for aligning purposes only. If you've ever watched me put cabinets together, you see that I do it the same every time. Then I come back with my 16 gauge medium crowned staple. These staples are 1 3/4 inches long. And And there is my side nailed to my floor. I'll do the same now with my other side. And it will go together just like this to create both sides. Let me go ahead and get that done, and then we'll come back for the top. With my two sides and the floor of my sink section put together, you are looking directly into the sink. This is the top, of course, this is the floor. The next thing that I put together is I put the back hanging cleat. I'm going to turn it around like this, and this back hanging cleat goes in just like that and nails flush to the top and flush to the back. I give it 2 nails from that side. And then 2 nails from this side. Then I tip it up and again take my medium crown stapler, and I'm going to go ahead and nail this so that I can see it, and then I'll show you. Okay, I give 2 staples in the back and 1 staple in the top, so it's got 2 nails and 3 staples to staple this corner, or to nail this corner in solid and flush. So flush on the back, flush on the top. I'll go ahead and complete this side. And there's our back hanging cleat all put in. Now all we have to do on the sink here is just put the top rail in. Now, the top rail is going to go just like that. And that's going to complete our sink section. Now, for ease of installation, I'm going to tip this up on its side. And I'm going to turn it like this. So I'm basically nailing it together like that. I'm going to turn it around here so I can see it, because actually I have to see it. The 1.5 inch face is flush with the sides of the cabinet. This piece is flush with the top of the cabinet. And so that creates the top front corner of our sink. I put 2 nails into the solid wood piece and 1 nail into this piece. Then I come back with my stapler and 2 staples, and that's the nailing process that we use for the front. I'll go ahead and complete the other side now. Okay, we'll put a back on our cabinet, 1/4 inch white melamine on the inside, so it's just one-sided material, and we're putting it on with 18 gauge small crown staple, 1/4 inch crown staple. And we're just nailing it on flush like this with the bottom. And then down one side. And I always do it this way. I nail it flush across the bottom and then flush down one side, because now I know it's square. I made sure my back was square, and by keeping it flush on this side and flush on this side, I know I've squared my cabinet up. Double row of staples through our hanging cleat and finish it off by going down the other side of our cabinet. And there we are with our sink section complete. All right, let's put together a drawer section. Most of it will go together exactly like this, but there has to be some room for some drawers in there, so there's a divider. Let me go ahead and get my drawer section this far along, and I'll show you how we space for those drawers. I have completed the drawer section to the same point that our sink section was done, and now we have to install the divider that goes between. Now, the way I do that is I make these little throwaway spacers. By measuring the distance between the top rail and the floor, I have determined that each opening, with minus the 3/4, is 7 3/4. And so my little spacer is 7 3/4. My spacer goes in like that. Then my rail goes in and pushes down tight against the spacer. And then I would just nail it from the outside, nail, staple, same as we did on the top rail. And that's how we would install the center rails. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this put in, put the back on it, and then we have 2 of these that are exactly alike. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other one built, and we'll come back after I get that far. Okay, we have our 3 cabinets put together, our 2 drawers and our sink put together, and it's sitting side by side just like it's supposed to. But let me show you one more thing. Okay, here's our original whiteboard drawing. So the 3 cabinets that we just built are these 3, but we have this cabinet down here to build yet. It's an open section, just an open shelf, but it is actually a cabinet. It has sides, top and bottom, and a back. We're going to go ahead and get that put together, and then we're going to just dry fit all 4 of these pieces together so you can see them. So let me go ahead and build this piece right here. These are the pieces for our bottom open shelf. Our bottom, top, side. We'll be assembling that, and then we're going to put all 4 pieces together on the bench so you can see how it looks. We now have completed the assembly on our 4 cabinets, and we've put them together in the configuration that they goes. Let's look at our whiteboard. Drawer, sink, drawer, open cabinet. You can see that it's beginning to come together, and next time when we get together, we're going to put doors, drawers, drawer faces, and end panels on it to complete our vanity. We'll look forward to seeing you next week on Woodworking with Wes.